something breathing fire. The stones of Karnak in Brittany, over 13 rows of them, several miles long, 3,000 separate blocks. Their age, over 5,000 years old. Why were they put up, and for whom? Science tells us, altars to the gods. Nobody says what gods. The wall blocks of Saskatchewan in Peru. The square stone terraces of Baalbek. The Moai on Easter Island. These huge granite spheres in the forests of Costa Rica, for what purposes were they made? Von Daniken suggests they were monuments to spaceships, similar to these science fiction illustrations. Another mystery, the curious tracks on the high plateau of Nazca in southern Peru. They have a resemblance to modern-day landing fields. But these tracks were laid down thousands of years ago. I put some questions to Dr. Dennis Houck, North American director of the International UFO Registry. Some of these mysteries, like the Nazca Plains, how would you explain them?
I think the Nazca Plains have been mistreated in the literature. There's much more information there than is generally available. The Nazca Plains have been presented as so much graffiti which the extraterrestrials put on the plains for our enjoyment or their enjoyment. And actually, there's a great many more mysteries involved there. The Nazca Plains have only been known to mankind for 30 years. They were discovered by a commercial airline pilot. And if you're down on the ground in the plains, you see no marks. You see nothing. It's just a grassy area. In fact, the Pan American Highway was built right across the plains. No one noticed anything. But from a commercial airliner or from an airplane, you can see bits of the Nazca Plain. The Nazca Plain is 300 square miles around, and you really can't see the entire plain unless you're in space. The entire plain is very much covered with hematite, which is iron oxide. And as far as being a spaceship going to a planet, and if you were to do a magnetospheric survey of the planet, which we might assume would be done, the Nazca Plains would stand out like a red light. They would be a distortion of the field because of the rich iron deposits there. It's by far the biggest area on the planet Earth of this type of iron oxide deposits. The plain itself, when we look at the iron deposits, we find that there are actually rails running slightly below the ground. They're rusted now, but they're probably about 1,500 years old, perhaps 1,000 years old. We have
about the same age as the
plain itself and the markings.
The markings on
right.
the plain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The railings are about 22 feet apart, and when we think now, what could they be used for? We have a number of connections. One thing, the average size, average diameter of UFOs that we see today happens to be 21.5 feet. A very close coincidence there.
Do you think that they visited ancient man by example and perhaps with actual help, implanted ideas that became the inspiration for many of the mysteries that we now think of as the mysteries of the gods?
This is the key, I think, to an intelligent understanding of the ancient astronauts' effect on our lives in the past and present. The people, I don't think, these artifacts that we find that are so hard to explain do not fit in the culture. They do not fit the religious customs of the culture. It seems like there was a tremendous inspiration to make these artifacts on the part of the people. And I think that this inspiration finds its source with extraterrestrial intervention.
If they did intervene, how did they intervene? And why? There is a gap that has plagued anthropologists for a long time. Why? 1 minute in Earth time, man is still living in grottos and caves, and then, in a very short space of time, he begins erecting structures unmatched in perfection to this day. Did some decisive change come over the human brain at this point in time? How did prehistoric people learn to produce architectural masterworks? Consider Chan Chan in northern Peru, the capital city of the Shimu people. Shimu culture was already ancient when the Incas came here. 200,000 people once lived in these clearly geometrically organized streets and walls. Urban planning like this presupposes an organized mind, highly developed thinking powers. The Shimu had it. These golden figures were found under the ruins of Chan Chan. 20 inches high, the characters are engraved in each of 56 rectangles. An alphabet, all scholars agree to that. But, to this day, no one has succeeded in deciphering it. The ancient Mayan city of Uxmal in Mexico, a magnificent architectural style. The ornamentation, graceful filigree work in stone. Pyramids with 365 steps, one for each day of the year. A calendar more accurate than our own. It manages without a leap year. Where did the Mayans learn the laws of astronomy? Tikal rises today out of a sea of giant jungle trees. This is the largest and oldest Mayan city, now being slowly freed from the jungle. These buildings are more stern, more somber. No one knows why the Mayans suddenly decided to leave cities like these to establish new settlements. Who or what forced the Mayans to change locations? There are other technological mysteries. Deep in the Bolivian jungle, on a hill there is a structure that scientists have wondered about for years. Van Daniken went there on a research expedition. The view from the ground. A labyrinth of terraces, winding stairs, and rock seats. Scholars say this could be some kind of altar. What was the purpose of these two stone tracks, each about a foot wide?